Hello and welcome to another musical session with me, Peter Cook. And today we're going to be thinking about writing music. So why do we want to write music when we could just play music? Playing music comes first, really, doesn't it? We love playing music, playing in bands, playing in orchestras. We do it in schools, we do it in football matches. We sing and we play instruments and we make fantastic music. So why would we want to bother writing it down at all? Well, I guess that has something to do with the idea of passing on good ideas to other people. Why do we write books, or why do we paint pictures? We do that so that we can share the ideas we have. It's part of our culture, isn't it? That we share things and we write things down and think, look at that, that's really brilliant. Listen to this story, it's really fantastic. Listen to this poem, it's a brilliant poem that explains things so well. Well, music's no different. We write down sounds in all kinds of different ways so we can share those sounds with other people. So rather than looking at me, I'm sure you'll be very pleased that we're going to look at pictures and some words as well to help us understand this, as well as to listen to some sounds. So let's go straight in. Okay, so the title of today's session is Writing Down Sound. So we're going to find out how people write down sounds in all sorts of different ways. And let's go straight to the first slide, which is thinking about following a line. So you can see there are some lines which are blue and there are some lines which are red. So here's the blue ones. We've got a short line there, another short line there, a short line there, and then if we go to the other blue one, we've got a wavy line, and then we've got a gap and a longer line, and then a very big, thick blue line. So I wonder what that could mean if that's a piece of music. Well, imagine you're playing an instrument, like a trombone, say. So this would be one note, pa, 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 and that would be a single note that you play, and it would last as long as you think that line lasts. So now this line, because it's a wavy line, it's going to go up and down. So the note's going to go up and down. Pa. And then this would be a long one. Pa. But the same note, not a wavery note like that. And then this one I think would be higher, and because it's thicker, I'm thinking that it would be louder. Pop! And that could go on as long as you could go around a few times if you wanted on that. Now we're reading this score, because that's what you call it, a musical score, a musical piece. We're reading it from left to right. And that's just because when we read a book, we normally read things left to right, don't we? But you could play these at any time. So you could start here with this wavy line and go backwards like this. Or you could just decide which ones you want to play whenever you like. So these are, I guess, little instructions which will help you to make music. So that's the blue. If it was a red instrument, so say that was a trumpet, then the red instrument could play these lines here. So you'd just choose the notes that you want to play, and you'd play a wavy line, or a loud, low sound, or a long sound here. And you choose how you play those notes. So although it's writing the sounds down, it's not really very exact, is it? It's just giving people a way of thinking about the sound, and that's very useful. So part of writing sound down is a kind of is sort of thinking of a code, if you like, or a design that then you all agree on, and then you follow that design or code, and you end up with a piece of music. Now this one also looks like a picture, doesn't it? Because it's not got notes as we normally think of notes. It's got just circles or wavy lines or straight lines. So it looks almost like art, almost looks like a picture. In fact, I think if you turned that up on its side, it would look a bit like a face. Anyway, that's where writing down sounds starts to look like art. So let's go on to this, which is make your own sound map. Now this is something that you can do wherever you are. So to make your own sound map, all you need is a piece of paper and a pair of ears, which I think you've all got, so you'll be able to do this. So the X here in the middle is where you're sitting. So wherever you are sitting in the room, you mark an X. And then as you hear the sounds, you write down what you hear. You make a little squiggle or a line or something to show the sound that you heard. And you put a little number in it, or a number next to it, so that we can tell which sound you heard first. So for example, in this little picture, which was by somebody called Ellie in year 3 a few years ago, Ellie heard this sound first of all, so she put a number 1 next to it. So this looks like a pointy mountain or something, doesn't it? So it seems to go up and down. So if it was me, I'd go doop doop, and that would be my idea for that piece. But she must have heard a sound, so it might have been someone playing something or whistling something or saying something, and that's what she wrote down. And for number 2, she did a very similar sort of thing, but it's a little bit more wavy, isn't it? It's not very exact. So it might have gone do or something like that. And then as we go on through the numbers, you see the different things that she heard. So I think the dots here just meant really short notes, like beep, beep. She heard that in 5 and in 6. Look what she heard in 7. There was lots of those little short notes. Could have been something like this. For number 9, she just heard a crackle, so she didn't know what to do, so she wrote crackle, which is fine. It's just another way of writing down the sound, isn't it? So the point of this is that then somebody else can come and play this piece that she's written down. So not only will she remember perhaps the piece and all those sounds, but there's a way that somebody else can play it, and that's how you share the sounds. Now, of course, with every map, you might need a map key. So a map key will tell you what those little squiggles mean, and so it's very important. If you're following a normal map, you see all sorts of signs that you remember. So a pathway would be like a dotted line, and a road would be a continuous line, wouldn't it? And they're even different colours, so you know what sort of road it is. But with this map, this is for sound. So you can see that wavy line over here that Ellie did. Well, the key for that is this, and it just means play up and down. And then the little dots mean play a short notes. The cross is me, it's where I'm sitting, or where she was sitting. And this is a longer note, it's more horizontal, isn't it, than the other one. So it's just a long sound. So one of the things I'm going to ask you to do is to make up a sound map and just go and sit somewhere and mark down the sounds and the order that they came in. So writing down the order of the sounds is really important. And when you become someone who writes music, which is called a composer, then you have to put the notes in an order. And that's one of the things that's really important. You have to choose what sounds come first and how those sounds continue, then what other sounds come in, how the piece continues and finishes. And that's what being a composer is, really. So anyway, we'll come back to that, but this is a lovely little idea to try. You can do it any way you like, and it's called a sound map. Okay, so a few weeks ago we looked at rhythm and what rhythm was all about. And here we've got that word again, rhythm. So we found out that rhythm was a pattern that uses long notes and short notes. And this is a way of writing down rhythms. So if you're in year 3, you'll have tried out these ideas already. But if you're in year 4, 5 or 6, then you might want to try them again. Make sure you know what they are. So here we've got a long line and we've got ant written above it. And that's because we're thinking of this line as the word ant. So every time you see a line like that, you go ant. So this would be ant, 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 ant. We have 4 lines. Here, some of the lines are joined up, and we call those spider, because there's 2 lines. And then we've got 2 ants at the end. So the ones that are quicker are the spider. Spider, spider, ant, ant. So the spiders are twice as quick as the ants. So if we read that from the beginning now, it would read ant, 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 spider, spider, ant, ant. It's easy, isn't it? So remember, the faster notes are joined up at the top. The slower notes, or the longer notes, are not joined up. So here we've got a spider, well, we've seen that before, and we've got an ant, well, we've seen that before. But look, here we've got some really fast notes, and we've called those caterpillar. Caterpillar, because there's 4 notes quite quickly. We know they're quick because they've got 2 lines. The spider's just had 1 line, and the caterpillar has 2 lines. So when we read it, we think caterpillar, 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 caterpillar. 4 quick notes. And then we've got an ant. So in fact, it takes us the same amount of time to say caterpillar as ant. So if you were just going ant, 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 you'd have to say caterpillar, 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 like that. So if we put the whole thing together, it would sound like this. Ant, 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 spider, spider, ant, ant, spider, ant, caterpillar, ant. Let's do that once more. So you can say it or you can even clap it. So I'm going to clap it at the same time. So you'll have to just follow it now. Here we go. Ant, 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 spider, spider, ant, ant, spider, ant, caterpillar, ant. There we go. If I did that on a musical instrument, it could sound like this. Hang on. So this is it on a recorder on the note B. And that's how you could write down rhythm. Now you can try it yourself. So you could write your own rhythm on a piece of paper somewhere, and then you can write them with the ants, or you could write them with the lines, either or both. So then you could swap them round. So I'm going to swap these round. In fact, like this. In fact, I'm going to swap that one round as well. You can swap individual notes around, but I've only got them in these boxes. So now it would sound like this. Spider, spider, ant, ant, spider, ant, caterpillar, ant, 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 ant. And that's my little rhythm. So have a go at that. Try writing down your own rhythms and patterns by using single lines, double lines, or 4 lines together. And if you do the 4 lines together, remember it needs 2 of those horizontal lines. But it's good fun to do, so give it a go. Okay, let's move on to big words. Yes. Okay, so this needs a little bit of thought, and you need to remember this kind of stuff. So you might have to spend a little bit of time writing these things down and remembering them. So we've got big words, and this is how you start to write it down as music. So before we had ants and spiders and caterpillars. Now we've got a couple of other things too. We've got what I've called worm, which is just a little circle which is not coloured in. And if you see a circle just on its own, not coloured in, then that is called a worm. And if you see a worm but with a stick, like that, then that's worth 2 beats. And that's called a snail. Snail. It kind of almost has 2 parts to it, doesn't it? Snail. So worm is worth 4 beats. So it would go worm. Worm. So it's a really long note. So I thought of that because a worm's long, isn't it? It sort of slides along. Well, that note kind of slides along. So these are snail, snail, snail. And these are our old favourites. So it was just a stick, wasn't it? But now it's got a coloured in circle, and that's called an ant. And then we've got our spider notes, which are in fact half beats. spider, 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 spider. Or our caterpillar notes, which are quarter beats, because there's 4 of them in one, isn't there? So with our spider beats, there's 2 in one there. They're half beats, so it's 2 in one. And our caterpillars are 4 in one, so they're quarter notes. Caterpillar, 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 spider, 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 ant, 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 snail, 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 worm, worm, ant, 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 snail, 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 caterpillar, 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 caterpillar. Brilliant. So have a little think of those and see if you can learn the words worm, snail, ant, spider, caterpillar. Now, if you're in year 6, then you should try and learn these names, which are the big words, and those names are the proper names for these words. Obviously, we wouldn't call these worm, snail, ant, spider, caterpillar. It's just that's a really good way of remembering how many beats they are. But this one is not usually called a worm. It's called a semibreve. A semibreve, and that's worth 4 beats. This one is not usually called a snail. It's called a minim. A minim. A very strange word, isn't it? But minim. The ant is called a crotchet. The spider is called a quaver. And the caterpillar is called semiquavers. So each one of those is a semiquaver. Each one of those is a quaver. Each one of these is a crotchet. Each one of these is a minim. And each one of these is a semibreve. So you've got them all written down there. So have a good think about that. There's a lot to remember, isn't there? But don't worry, when you're learning to play music, you do things again and again and again. So it takes quite a lot of repetition, but you get there in the end. So that's our big words. Okay, so let's take a step back and just look at a slightly easier way of writing down patterns that you could remember for the future. So this is called a rhythm grid, and it's just a very simple way of ordering sounds. So in this one we've got 3 groups: group 1, group 2, group 3, and group 1 is going to say these names, these words, on beats 1, 2, 3 and 4. So if beats were going 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we'd be going ant, ant, caterpillar, ant, 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 caterpillar, ant, 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 caterpillar, ant, 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 caterpillar, ant. And at the same time, group 2 would be doing these words, so you can join in with this. It goes like this: spider, spider, ant, ant, spider, spider, ant, ant, spider, spider, ant, ant, spider, spider, ant, ant. And then the last group, group 3, join in with me. Here we go. Caterpillar, 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 ant. Caterpillar, 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 ant. Caterpillar, 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 ant. Caterpillar, 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 ant. Very good. So then you try all those 3 groups all at the same time. So I won't do that now, but obviously in your class or at home even with 3 people, you could try those. And of course, if you want to change the words to different words, then you can change the words to any words that you like, as long as you find the pattern of the words. And you can find that by just repeating the word again and again and again. So that's called a rhythm grid. Then if you wanted to, you could put those words to a musical instrument, or you could clap them, or anything you like. So for example, with the group 3 one, caterpillar, 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 ant, I'm going to play that on the recorder. And if it was spider, I could do something like. And if it was group 1, I could do this. So then you're hearing it as a rhythm, but of course you're also hearing it as a melody as well, as a tune. And those 3 tunes could then be played together. Okay, so that is a rhythm grid. So I'm going to ask you to have a go at that. But we're going to move on to this sort of thing, which is called a sound graph. So this is just a little bit more complicated than the rhythm grid. So this would be for years 5 and 6, I imagine. So we've got the same thing though. So across the top, you've got the time, counting 1 to 8. And then the next line is recorder or bird calls. So they're going to play that. I'll come back to that in a minute. Then on the next line, we've got shakers, which are being like snakes. So this means just a shaky sound on a maraca or something like that, maybe a homemade instrument. And then we've got the woodpecker on, and this would maybe be on a piece of wood, or it could be an agogo or something like that. So we've got a very strong note here. That's an ant note. And then we've got, oh look, this looks like caterpillar there. And then we've got ant, and then we've got another ant. So this is only happening on beat 2. So in beat 1, guess what you do on beat 1? Nothing. You just have a nice rest on beat 1. So it would be rest, ant, rest, caterpillar, rest, ant, ant. And the thin line just means it's a little bit quieter than a thick line. So that is quieter than that, and that is quieter than that. Okay, and then the last line here, which is for chime bars. So chime bars are made of metal, and you beat them with a stick, and this is to show rain. So these balls each mean you hit the chime bar once, and you can see by the end you're hitting it lots of times. And really that becomes a little bit more random. So we're not expecting you to hit those exactly on time, because it'd be almost impossible. Difficult to see. It's just going to give an impression of rain. And you could do this with just one person, or there could be a whole group of people with these instruments. So a whole group of people could be rain or wood or shakers or recorders. So let's just go back to the recorder one. Now you can see these are 2 little spider notes, and that's happening on beat 1, and that's happening on beat 2. Then beat 3, you've got an ant note, and you've got another ant note, then a spider, then nothing, and then a spider, and then an ant. And these letters here tell you what notes to play. So it'd be B, 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 G, G, B, B, rest, G, G, G. That would be it all the way through. So I'll play that from here. Here we go. Let's put that over there. So I'm going to play it for you. Here we go. Rest. And that would repeat round again. So all these little patterns just loop round, so you can play them as many times as you want. I'll just do that one again. I'll count this time. I'm going to count to 3 and then start. 1, 2, 3. Rest. Now, of course, you don't actually say rest when you're performing it. That was just so that you know that on beat 6 there's nothing to play, so it's a rest. Okay, so if there's nothing to play on any of the other parts, you just take a rest. So these are all places where there's a rest. Sometimes there's 2 beats rest. Okay, so have a go at that. Choose a line, practice the line, and then see if you can put it together with somebody else.